Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a great day. And above all else, that you're indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Cheshire and I are back for another episode. How's it going, Ken?
Going well. I'm glad to be back.
Glad that you're back. Glad that you again accepted my link. Accepted the invitation to come on board for this episode.
No problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ken and I are back with another episode of Acoustic Corner. We're going to be taking a look at a band and an album that we think are quite wonderful. Uh, this band, although they've been together since 1977 and have released 22 albums throughout their career, I personally feel that they haven't gotten the proper respect that they deserve in terms of the catalog that they've put out over the years. That band is Saga. And the album that we're going to be talking about on this episode of Acoustic Corner is their latest and last studio release called Symmetry, released in 2021. Now, before we get into this, I'll go through my notes here. Just a bit about Saga. Formed in Oakville, Ontario, originally known as Pockets, Saga formed in 1977 from the nucleus of a Canadian rock band, Flood. In April 1978, Saga released their self-titled debut release. Uh, it was a modest hit in Canada, and it would go on to eventually sell over 30,000 copies as an import in Germany. Throughout their career, Saga, again, have been releasing albums. Their major breakthrough in the US was their fourth album, Worlds Apart, which was produced by Rupert Hine, featuring the singles On the Loose and Wind 'Em Up. That was unfortunately their one and only hit album in the US. They have been signed to such labels as Polydor. The first two albums were released on Polydor Records. Their subsequent releases of the first two albums were released on Maze Records. Also, other labels that they were signed to were Portrait, Warner Brothers, and one album for Atlantic Records called Wildest Dreams, released in 1987, produced by Keith Olsen. Now, with regards to who is in the band, they've gone through some lineup changes through the years, but the core group of the band have basically been together since 77. In the band for this release, you have, excuse me, Michael Sadler on lead vocals, Ian Crichton on guitars, mandolin, and banjo, Jim Gilmore on clarinet, accordion, piano, backing vocals, lead vocals on Say Goodbye to Hollywood and No Regrets, Jim Crichton on bass, and he's also the project custodian, according to the notes I have here. Uh, Mike Thorne on drums, kick drum, snare drum, kitchen percussion, backing vocals. Joining them for this album, you have Shane Cook on fiddle, Stephanie Sickie on cello, and Beth Silver on cello. You also have Michael Sadler's son, Saren Sadler, on backing vocals. Now, just also a little note about Saga. The original lineup of Saga from 77 to 79 had one Peter Rochon on keyboards and backing vocals. Peter Rochon would leave the band and after the release of the debut album, and they would recruit one Greg Chad for the release of their album Images at Twilight from 79. He proved to be what some in the band would call what they would call as a toxic member of the band. He did not get along with members of the band, and he was quickly tossed out on his ass. Jim Gilmore would join the band in 1980 for the recording and release of their third album, Silent Night, featuring the track Don't Be Late, Chapter 2, as part of the Chapters series, and has been with the band ever since. We are all caught up. Let's dive into Symmetry, ladies and gentlemen. Ken, your view of this release? I'm going to backtrack. Symmetry is an album of 12 tracks of re-recorded music uh, that the band did from their catalog, uh, done in an acoustic format. This album was recorded, and I failed to mention this. My apologies. The album was recorded during lockdown. So the band decided, what the hell are we going to do? We're stuck, you know, and they came up with this idea of re-recording some music from songs from the back catalog, 12 tracks in total. Two of the tracks on this album are done as medleys, and the track listing involves the albums from 78 to 2006 with the last studio album, Trust. So I have to get that out of the way. Now, Ken, what was your take with this album?
Okay. My background with this album, with this band, excuse me, um, is only extensive as the single On the Loose. I
Oh my
remember hearing
God.
it back in the day on the radio, but I think the radio station that I listened to um, was playing a lot of other contemporary stuff at the time that I didn't really care for. And there's a part of my brain that just lumped that song in with the rest of them. And I never really looked into them or listened to any of their stuff or sought it out or whatever. But the name has always been out there, in conversations with friends and in talking about another band recently on the channel. Someone mentioned, "Oh, they're like Saga." I'm going, "Huh?" Because I didn't associate it with anything other than the song On the Loose, which was just very inaccurate. So Armando came up with this idea because we spoke about another band recently from the 90s that recently released an acoustic album of their previous works and how much I love that. Um, Hashtag Toad the Wet Sprocket. So Armando mentioned this. He goes, "Hey, you want to take a listen to this? Let's talk about it." I said, "Oh, okay." Anyway, so um, I put this on Spotify, and wow, this absolutely blew me away, literally. Well,
Okay.
not literally, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, he held
Um,
on to the post and kept himself in place.
grab that seat belt.
There you go.
Um, yeah, it was. I really didn't have really any particular expectation. Um, Yet it still was a really great surprise. I find that, and since then, after listening to it about 3 times, I did go back into their catalog specifically to listen to the original recorded versions of these songs and, listen to complete albums too to get a good sense of the background.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this is an amazing band. Armando, you categorize them as a prog band. It definitely, at the time, at least in the early days, a strong elements of prog, but also a very new wave and power pop sensibility at the same time,
Mhm.
which I thought was very interesting because, like a lot of people, I associate prog with these you know, big 23, 30, 38 minute, songs.
Yeah.
And not all, and, Saga released some long songs, but those were, but what I heard was something that was very prog like, but very um, much shorter in length uh, and compact and no filler at all. There is incredible virtuosity in those albums. And so then going back and listening to this again in retrospect, the virtuosity is still there on acoustic instruments. The piano and the guitar parts in particular, um,
Yeah.
and it's still proggy, but it's on acoustic instruments. That's not easy to do
Not at
on
all.
acoustic guitar.
Not at all. Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, wow. And just in these little small bites, and it's always to enhance the rest of the song, not overtake it. Um, it's not flash for flash sake.
Yes.
And I personally really appreciate it. The songs on this album are very melodic. Michael Sadler, um, uh, I've heard and read a lot of admiration for his voice, and I think that's very much earned.
Yes.
But I really do love his voice on this album because as an older man, um, he still has the range, he still has the tone of voice, but it's got a richer sound here. It's
Yeah.
got a richer tone.
Yeah.
It's got a well lived in sound. It's very warm, and that's
Yeah.
just it. This album is a very warm album. Um, so you take those previous mixture of prog and new wave and power pop, and now with the mandolin, the banjo, the clarinet, accordion, fiddle, it now takes on a folk element too,
Very much so.
a very almost a Celtic feeling with these songs that serve um, these arrangements so incredibly well. Um, the two medleys are so incredibly arranged. You know,
Yeah.
they don't sound like medleys. They sound like a one cohesive song
Piece of
throughout
work. Yeah.
with
Yeah.
different sections to it. Um, one of the songs that particularly stands out is the song "Always There." Man,
Yeah.
that hits hard. That hits really hard in all the soft spots of the heart.
Yeah.
Um, I think Jim Gilmore does an excellent job on the vocals for "Say Goodbye to Hollywood."
Yeah.
Um, like I say, the two medleys, "Perfect Time to Feel Better" and "The Right Side of the Other Hall," just they're just what can I say? Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and if you want to hear some incredible um, guitar runs, the closing track, "Tired World." Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's just absolutely amazing playing, and there again, not easy playing, but done so well on the guitar. It reminds me of that album of Al Di Meola, John McLaughlin, and Friday Night in San Francisco. I'm
Oh
sorry,
yeah. Paco de Lucia.
Paco de Lucia. Yeah, those passages sound very, very similar to that.
Yeah.
Uh, Fast, impressive, yet still melodic, which I don't find is common. Um, I find that in rock and a lot of jazz, the faster sometimes the guitarist plays, the less actual musicality it has. My brain separates technique from music
From Flash. Yeah. Yeah.
and flash, and but here, all of this incredible technique is very, very musical, and I recommended this to a friend of mine who is even older than me. Go figure.
Oh
And
God. Okay.
and and he's not a big 80s synthesizer fan of that
Yeah.
kind of music,
Yeah.
but he says he's just been playing this on repeat, and so it's like, okay, it's not just me,
Yeah.
because I trust his taste very much and impeccably, and the same things. I've been having a discussion about it. The same things have been hitting it. The sound is much more organic
It is.
with the acoustic instruments. I think it works very well. again, it doesn't take away from the original electronic versions. It's just a different it's just a different thing, and
Yeah,
both are good in themselves, but this is just envisioned and executed so well. um and I thank you, Armando, for recommending not just this album but this band. um this is new to me, and it's been a high point of the last 2 weeks, researching this and dipping into it. Yeah, this is just the musicianship, the you know, can't figure out how to say it in words. It's
yeah.
it's just it's just a fantastic album. I love it.
Well, I'm glad you like it. I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. Saga being listed as a progressive rock band. I did an interview with the drummer Steve Negus just over almost a year and a half, 2 years ago, for the channel, and he had said that they never really liked being labeled,
Mhm.
right? And although they
Yeah.
were signed to some pretty major labels like Polydor in Canada originally, and then Portrait in the US in the early 80s, I honestly don't understand why this band is not as successful as the other bands that were coming up at the time. I mean, even when they were touring, they opened for Jethro Tull in '82, Styx. They toured with some great bands, and to get the exposure, and it just never hit. In terms of their earlier albums, they were recorded at Phase One Toronto in Toronto, produced by Paul A. Gross. What I liked about those first three albums, self-titled Images of Twilight and Silent Night, was their sound, their drum sound. The snare on those songs, on the recordings, is just so full and rich. And it was probably mic'd really close to the way it was mic'd in terms of the recording. Wonderfully done. Steve Negus on drums, a monster, a monster. And he would go on to play with Chris de Burgh on his one of his albums, produced
Mm.
by Rupert Hine. They also worked with Rupert Hine for Worlds Apart in '81 and Heads or Tails in '83. And um, just quickly, a little story. The one thing that Rupert Hines said when he started to work with the band was, "Michael, we got to get you out of the rafters. We got to get you to stop sounding like a choir boy and get you to sound like a rock singer." And when you hear songs like On the Loose and Wind 'Em Up on Worlds Apart, you can tell there's a definite difference in his attack and his approach. And the story is that when they recorded the vocals for On the Loose, they were recording in England at a recording studio that was on a farm. They put him in the barn, and he walked. When they put him in the when he went into the barn one day, because he says Rupert Hines said we're going to record in the barn. He's like, "What?" He walks into the barn. He looks up, and there's a cord for a mic hanging off of a rafter. They gave him a ladder. He says, "You're going to go sit up there, put on the headphones, and you're going to belt out your vocals sitting on the rafter." He says, "You're fucking crazy." He said, "No, we're going to do it. Get up there." Rupert wanted Michael's vocals to have that sense of attack and franticness and being frantic and being urgent, being being just, I guess, scared to the point where you'll do anything to survive, to get out of this situation alive. And it worked. And it worked. That's my mini rant. Now, back to this album. I look at Symmetry as a rebuild of these songs. It's been talk about albums being rebuilt, the Queen 2 rebuild. box set coming out. This album is a rebuild for me. You are looking at a list of 12 songs that, in my estimation, best represent this band in terms of musicality, of vocal harmony, vocal prowess, virtuosity on many stringed instruments, banjo, uh, fiddle, uh, clarinet, like, and wind instruments, clarinet, etc. They're taking these songs and putting such a wonderful spin on them. The two medleys per se, you know, the perfect time to feel better, time to go, which features, okay, sorry, backtrack. It's track two on the album, and it's called The Perfect Time to Feel Better, featuring the songs Time to Go, The Perfectionist, We Hope You're Feeling Better, okay, from the albums Silent Night, Saga, and Generation 13 from 1995. It is a beautiful medley. And in my notes, I have here beautiful cello, beautiful interwoven accordion and fiddle, great harmonies
Yep.
on this. They take every song and give it the love and respect that these songs so richly deserve. And I think they come at it with such a uniqueness and such a different light to it. They add a different light, a different shade to it that they're just wonderfully done. They're just wonderfully done. And you know, I mentioned chapters. The chapters I was talking about started on the self-titled album from '78, and it's a science fiction story depicting the character of a young Albert Einstein. And each of the first four albums had eight chapters telling this story. And the only way that you can understand this story is listening to the chapters one track at a time. What's more difficult about that is each album had a different chapter in a different running order. So it's not like you listen to the self-titled debut and you've got chapter one, chapter two, you've got chapter six, for example, on the debut release. Uh, and it makes for a different and interesting listening experience. The only way you can get these chapters in the proper running order is to look up chapters live, where they have all 16 chapters of this story done in the chronological running order from chapter 1 to chapter 16. They would stop the chapters portion of their recording uh, in 1981 with Worlds Apart. They would pick it up again in the, I believe, late 90s or early 2000s and continue the story, which I thought was very interesting. Now, back to the album. Track three is Images, chapter one, from Images of Twilight. Again, wonderful clarinet and acoustic guitar and cello on this piece. Just wonderfully done. Always There from one of your favorites from House of Cards, 2001. Great use of banjo on this piece. Just a reworking again of this track and a really heartfelt vocal from Michael Sadler. Just wonderfully done. There were two new tracks, quote unquote, new pieces, one called Prelude 1 and Prelude 2, both written by Ian Crichton. Again, and they're like 49 and 51 seconds each. They're not very long, and they do act as a wonderful interlude, just to
Yeah.
sort of keep the album moving at a wonderful pace, right? And before you know it, it's over. Uh, Track number eight. I should also say another standout for me is "Say Goodbye to Hollywood" from Steel Umbrellas, featuring Jim Gilmore on lead vocals, wonderful. And nice use of brushes on the drums from Mike Thorpe, just wonderfully done. Uh, Another standout for me, the entire album is a freaking standout. Another standout for me is the right side of the right side of the other hall, Footsteps in the Hall. Uh, Sorry, start again. Track 8. The way they separate these is very interesting. The, the right side of the other hall is the track, and it comprises Footsteps in the Hall, and on the other side, and You Were Right, from the album Trust from 2006. At 5 minutes and 48 seconds. Again, what I have in my notes here, great drapery of guitars, beautiful vocals, intricate fiddle and accordion and guitar. It's just wonderful. All of these tracks are just wonderfully arranged and beautifully executed. A wonderful version of Wind 'Em Up is track number 10 from Worlds Apart. Nice use of cello on the intro, gorgeous harmonies, beautiful strings, intricate acoustic guitar passages, and soaring vocals from Michael Sadler on this. This is him. This is not auto tune. This is not, you know, using a keyboard sample of a vocal. This is him doing it live, and he does it wonderfully. No Regrets is track 11, chapter 5 of the chapters, again from Worlds Apart. Gorgeous clarinet and piano and guitar, and wonderful use of strings and accordion on this arrangement. Wonderfully done. And the album ends off with, and then we'll talk about more about the band. The album ends off with Tired World, Chapter 6 from the debut self-titled release at 6 minutes and 24 seconds. Wonderful build of instruments on the intro. Great use of fiddle on the musical break, or musical breaks, sorry. Great use of banjo on the breakdown section, and great intricate guitar solo. And this is him on acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
This is Ian Crane on acoustic guitar. And great dramatic stabs, quote unquote, that are faithful to the original recording. Because it's
Mhm.
very dramatic, very epic, in terms of the story of this young Albert Einstein. In revisiting this album, I fell in love with it again. I loved it when I first got it in 2021. But this album, for me, chef's kiss. It's just wonderful. It is wonderfully constructed, arranged, and it was a great idea. And it looks like that this will be the last studio release from Saga due to certain issues happening right now in the band. But it is a wonderful exercise in creativity and and music. Just it's gorgeous. It is simply gorgeous. Now, back to enough of my rambling and my praise. Back to Ken here. Um, so you were saying that you knew of the band with regards to On the Loose, but you just sort of dismissed them after the fact, or just didn't pay attention
Yeah.
to the
I
album.
just did, I just dismissed them based on a lot of the other stuff that radio station was playing at the time because I've never been a top 40 radio guy. I've always been looking for something that was a little bit different, and this radio station, played everything that sounded very similar. And so, like I said, I just wrote it off. It sounds like it's like okay, well, yeah, that's okay. Um, can't even say I really listened to the song that closely because I just clumped it in with a lot of very mediocre stuff at the time. So bad judgment on my part. Um, and Yeah, I wish I hadn't have done that. But the recordings are here now. So I'll just like you talk about Tom Petty, you discovered him
Late.
after he had passed away and you feel bad about that. Yeah, but his records are still here.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I look at I look at Saga, um, and long may they live. And I've got the recordings to really dig back into and discover. And in a lot of ways, just in general, I enjoy discovering new music, new to
Mhm.
me music, that's old as a part of being released now. Finding something that comes out now, a new band, whatever, that's great. But I particularly like discovering older music that I never was aware of because it has a different resonance,
Mhm.
and at least to my ears. So so yeah, this was a wonderful eye opener for me, and this album in particular, um, is uh, yeah, this is butter on home baked bread, baby. It's
Oh
just
my
really,
God. That's a good description. Okay.
it really is, and it feeds so many um, parts of my brain. It's got the organic warm feeling, yet it still has the instrumental virtuosity. It has all the melody. Um, and I've been trying to think, um, for the last 9 or 10 days, whose voice Sadler reminds me of, and I just can't. My brain just is dancing around it, and I can't think of it. When it
Yeah.
does, if it's in the middle of the night, if you get a call from me in the middle of the night,
Yeah,
Armand,
he'll
it's
call
because it's
me.
like that's who he reminds me of. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's in a good way. Like I said, I think um, his age now, whatever it is, um, he's singing. It's got a different warmth to it.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's not sacrificing any tone or any
No.
range,
Yeah.
which shows he's been doing this for so long that he is a very, very intelligent singer.
Yeah.
In other words, he knows how to sing properly to get the most out of his voice without abusing it.
Yeah.
And that's very rare.
Yeah.
That is very rare.
Yeah.
So,
No, I agree. I agree. And just a bit of background here. These songs, like for example, The Perfectionist
mhm.
from the debut album, side two, track one, tells the story of a Mr. Sneed who had every need to do everything just right. This is an individual who is planning his own death, right? And he's not only doing that, he's going to take people with him. He plans this dinner party where he's going to serve a sumptuous feast and he's going to serve the poisoned wine at the end. And not only is he going to die, he's going to take his friends, quote unquote, with him. So, yes, these songs are draped in wonderful keyboard passages and wonderful melodies and harmonies, but the subject matter is quite deep, right? It's quite, did I just hear right? Yeah, you heard right. So, and I mean, as from the debut album, as a keyboardist, Peter Roshan, when I mentioned this to Steve Negus in the interview, I said, when I hear his keyboard work on The Perfectionist, the fluidity that he does on the keyboard with these passages, I cry because it is just so beautiful.
Yeah,
And they recreate these songs and these arrangements so wonderfully acoustically that it's like, am I hearing this correctly? Is this right? And it is. It is just wonderful. It is just beautifully done, wonderfully executed. And I think he liked the fact that I mentioned, a deep track like The Perfectionist, which was a hit in South America, right? It wasn't ever released as a single, and it's a rock waltz,
yeah,
right? It's 3/4 time, the original. Um, but it's done with such passion and such finesse that it's like, okay, there's something deeper going on here. And again, I do not understand why this band was not bigger than what they were. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like it's a shame. It's a shame.
The thing about these songs and what I've listened to of the original albums, the most important thing is the song.
Yeah.
The important thing is not showing off how fast you can play on the keyboards or on the guitar, or
Hmm.
how high you can sing, or how bombastic the drums could be, or whatever. No. The most important thing is the song, and everything that they do instrumentally is to the service of the song.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't make
And personally, I find that not very common, especially when you've got musicians that are that can play at a very incredibly high level,
yeah.
and so therefore they focus on that virtuosity. But to
Yeah.
me, then the musicality goes out the window. I would
Yeah.
much rather hear David Gilmour play a solo than Eddie Van Halen,
I get
because
that.
what I hear when Eddie Van Halen is I'm hearing tricks, you know.
And
Um,
tricks are for kids. So
yeah,
sorry.
rabbit.
No,
So yeah, so yeah, it's just um, having a background, educational background in classical music. I have known many excellent classical pianists whose technique is just through the roof, but they're boring to listen to because
yeah.
there's not the musicality there.
Yeah.
And the musicality level on particularly on this album, since that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Butter on homemade bread, hot honey. I
Yeah.
love it.
I get it. I mean, like, oh my God. Ian Crichton's guitar playing
Yep,
is stellar. He has been described as having a percussive guitar style. Very regimented notes, the way he plays, very sort of
yep,
structured and regimented, but he can let it rip when he has to.
yep.
And he does on this album. On acoustic guitar, if anyone can
Okay.
shred on acoustic guitar, tastefully shred. Let's put it that way.
Yes, yes. And it's to the service of the song.
Yes, the purpose of this band, in terms of the songs, in my estimation, was never make anything but the song the main purpose as to what you're doing. Do
Yeah.
not do anything that's going to diminish what you're doing with the song on any level, and you'll be all right. I mean, it's again, chef's kiss. I can't
Yeah.
say it any more than that. Um,
The only other thing I can say, and the last thing I'll say about this album, is also this is an incredible example of perfect sequencing of the songs, the
yeah,
order of the songs.
yeah, yeah,
Just wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Because for
adding the prelude number 1 and 2, you're absolutely right. Transitional between the songs, it fits perfectly for two little short pieces. They're beautiful.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
beautiful. It's
yeah.
like, wow, it's over already. Oh, darn.
I
But then it
know.
goes into another great song. So the disappointment doesn't last long.
Yeah.
Um, like I say, everything is to the service of the music. And yeah, it's great. I thank you, Armando.
No, no, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. And I mean, like you mentioned, the sequencing, even from the big, just my final take on this, even from the beginning of Pitchman, where you have Michael Sadler doing the very delicate a
Yep.
cappella intro, you know, of the vocal, and it's just, and then it just builds with the piano from Jim Gilmore. It's just every musical section complements each other. Everything is strategically placed where it's supposed to be. There's
Yeah.
nothing that's out of place here and out of step. Wonderfully done. Wonderfully done. You know, but enough of our gushing, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it. Another episode of Acoustic Corner featuring the album's Symmetry from Saga. Please, if you know of this album, let us know in the comments below down there what your opinion of this album is. I've often said, along with the Tea Party, Saga is one of Canada's best kept secrets. And I'm ashamed to say that because they deserve better than what they were given in terms of attention and praise. They deserve a hell of a lot better. And yeah, please let us know your opinion on this album. And I want to thank Ken for joining me on this episode and for being open to listening to it and giving it a shot. You know, hope it didn't take up too much of your time, but you know what?
Guess
It
what?
was,
It's going to take up more. So there you go.
yeah, it was a wonderful exercise. It was a wonderful exercise. Well, you introduced me to Toad the Red Sprocket. I keep saying Toad the Red Sprocket, Toad the Wet Sprocket, and I
All
thought
good.
I should just you know, return the favor in kind. All right. Ladies and
You
gentlemen,
did.
again, please check out this album, Symmetry. You can check it out on Spotify. You can check it out on YouTube. You can actually get it at your local record store. If, heaven forbid, walk over to your local record store. Ask them if they have this album in stock or if they can order it for you. I'm sure they can. It's
They
available
can.
through Ear Music. And you can also go on Amazon, on Discogs, many ways to get it. It's available on CD, it's available on vinyl. Please get it. And I should also mention that the back catalog of Saga has been reissued on CD and vinyl through Ear Music. So please check that out. It is
Good.
amazing. It is amazing. That's it for now. Please look after yourselves and one another. Click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content we got coming up. We're also on X. Check us out on X. We're having a hell of a time on X right now. And yeah, that's it for now. Look after yourselves and one another. We'll see you soon again on the Music Den. Bye for now.